And we're recording. Go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. We are Group 4 and we are going to be discussing on Street Unity Part 2. So these are mostly the examples. Next slide, please. So this is our content outline. We'll have a short intro and then we'll discuss the 5 examples in the book of Motin. Next slide, please. So again, like what Neil discussed before this, the most important factor that contributes to unity in street design is that building forms must appear as surfaces rather than masses because strong three-dimensional forms will dominate the scene and the space loses its importance. So when the buildings range along a street have varied forms, styles, and treatments, the space loses definition. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So our first example is Montepulciano, which was discussed very briefly by Neil. So as you can see in the pictures, it is the building materials are brick, tufa, and stone, and it is one of Italy's most famous medieval walled hilltop towns. And the buildings fit the basic medieval street scene, so it really blends in with the environment, and all of like the buildings blend in with each other, so nothing like stands out too much. And their facades are two-dimensional, and it's part of a greater street elevation. So their elevations look really good since they have like more or less the same roof lines. So they have similar but individual building facades, and because of that, it promotes continuity and harmony in street design. Next slide, please. So this is the map of Montepulciano. It looks very nice from above because the streets are really well defined. Next slide, please. So this is Palazzo Cervini, and it's also in Montepulciano, and it's along Via de Voltaia nel Corso, and it's designed by Giuliano da Santalo. And as you can see, the roof heights were maintained, so it doesn't like stand out too much, and it's also nice because it has a U plan, like the palace is a U shape, so it gives people like more space to move around that street, so it doesn't look too tight. Next slide, please. So here is Piazza Grande Montepulciano. So it represents the whole town's architectural development. So it's like really so once you go there, it really kanang shows Jude how the rest of the town will look like because it has like similar building materials like brick, tufa, and stone, and it also has controlled elevations, which gives it a sense of enclosure. And the building elevations match the general profile of the town, where the enclosure of the public realm is of greater significance than individual display. So yes, next slide, please. So yes, to reiterate, Montepulciano is an art form, and even if the buildings have individual designs, they respect the urban context of the general townscape, and it contributes to a greater unity where enclosed three-dimensional space of the street is the main design consideration. So next slide, please. Next example. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to be continuing on with the report, and I'll be talking about the High Street in Oxford. Next slide, please. So, the High Street in Oxford is an example of a curved street that is on a relatively flat topography. So, this is in contrast to like streets that are on mountainous or hillsides that are curved. So, this one is located on a flat surface, and then it is characterized for having a sense of completeness, meaning that the street starts and ends at Carfax and Magdalen. So it depends where you enter. You can either start at Carfax or start at Magdalen. And then from if you enter from Carfax, the high street appears to be straight, as you see the straight line here on the vicinity map. And then from St. Mary the Virgin in the middle, it starts to sweep around to Magdalen Bridge. And at all points of the curving street, a feeling of enclosure and completion is maintained. Next slide, please. So the result of the curved street is a series of beautiful street pictures, according to Moten, where spires and towers keep rising into the view above their buildings. So as you can see in the picture, from the 1800s to the 2010s, it was maintained all like the buildings and architectural treatment. And then the wall of the street facade appears continuous also with small entrances disguised by the large building masses. And then the Oxford High Street, according to Thomas Sharp, is one of the most greatest and typical work of art in England. Next slide, please. So the Oxford High Street is subdivided into easily identifiable and small-scale enclosed spatial units that unfold as the observer moves along its length, and it has a good relationship also with its buildings. So there's a harmony of similar materials, forms, and details juxtaposed with complementary elements. So this is seen in the Carfax Towers, the All Saints Church, University Church of Saint Mary the Virgin, and Magdalene College. So they all have similar architectural treatment. Next slide, please. So the street scene is enhanced along its length by also exquisite detailing. So this is seen in the Baroque porch of St. Mary's, the Hawksmoor's cupola at Queen's College, and the medieval gateway at Magdalen Bridge. And other notable elements found on the street also include some decorative features, oriel windows, pinnacled roofs, ornamental chimneys, and Magdalen's grotesque gargoyles. Next slide, please.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Lansdowne now. Next slide, please. So a little bit of a history. So Lansdowne Crescent was planned by James. I mean, proposed by James Ladbroke. So he wanted the farmland to be a row house development. That's why he commissioned Thomas Allison as the initial architect of this street. Next slide, please. So the street is planned symmetrically, and the center is a circular is a circle with 500-meter diameter and is intersected by an axial road. Yes. Kanang naka-highlight in pink is Lansdowne Crescent. And the reason why it is on crescent shape is because to accommodate geographical features, which is ang kanang slope sa site. And to accommodate that, they follow the contours of the slope, and that is how they came up with the crescent form of the street. Next slide, please. So how was unity established in the street? So if you can see, I mean, examine the sidewalk, we could see that it is using a stone material, and that very same stone material is replicated on the first floors of the building. So that establishes connection and unity on the space kay connected ang sidewalk and the buildings mismo. Then second, next slide. As aforementioned by the Unity Group 1, Unity is achieved in similar building forms, building facades, and building heights. So that is evident here. So unsa pa ba ang evidences of unity in the street? So we can see that it uses the same principle of buildings, which is Renaissance. So it uses Ionic capitals in all its row houses. Then each row house has a cornice window, and each window is replicated and is modular in each row house. So they are all geometric shapes and has cornices on top of them. So these are the elements that made this crescent street up unified. So that's all from my report.
So the next example of street unity is in Priene, Turkey. So here's a little background of the place. So in 350 BC, this was once a small provincial town that was built on a steep sloped site, having a gridiron layout or a layout like a checkered pattern in a chessboard. So during its construction, it was suspected to have an ordinary two-dimensional plan because of its simple checkered layout. But during its execution of the 3D features like the elevation and the massing, it results in a magnificent architecture like a town that is built on a staircase because this was built uphill. So here are the factors that makes this place exceptional. So first, the green horizontal lines are the east-west streets that are on the same level, and the vertical orange lines are the north-south connections that are stairways. And this purple shaded area are the typical insulae that is about 24 by 18 meters, which domestic groups of domestic buildings are built separately but on the same shaded area. So here are the factors that gives unity to this place. So first, looking at C, which is the agora or the main gathering space, the adjoining streets beside it mimics its form because this form has a U-shaped enclosure and its opening is adjacent on the main street, this horizontal orange, and its adjoining streets mimic its form, which can be seen in these two small yellow areas, this one and next of that is the discontinued north and south street. This one is does not intersect along the center of the agora, and the purpose of this is to leave the place undisrupted or undisturbed by the traffic flow because its opening is already adjacent to this street.
The next example of street unity is Saltaire. Next slide, please. So Saltaire is a small planned 19th century settlement which is located in the city of Bradford in England. It has many common features with Brienne, as it has a similar built-up area of 20 hectares and both of them were based on a gridiron plan. The Saltaire gridiron plan was imposed on a sloping site, so the gridiron layout of the site of the town was designed to be efficient in terms of land use planning to satisfy the needs of the national businessman, but also comply with the latest recommendations on healthy urban design. Next slide, please. So Saltaire was built between 1851 and 1876. It represents the culmination of the development of model settlements as a solution to the urban problems of the industrial age. Next slide, please. Next slide. The concept was devised by Tito Salt. The architects for the plan and design are Henry Lockwood and William and Richard Mawson, who are civic and industrial designers. Through a survey, the various housing needs for family sizes were used to determine the type and quality of housing. These houses articulated the long street elevations. Large houses were placed at the ends of the terraces or at strategic points along the 60 or 290-meter length. Next slide, please. So next is the Victorian Road, which is the spine of the development for the Saltaire. Along with it are the public buildings. The spaces are architecturally modulated. Buildings are arranged in mutually reflecting projections or actually composed elevations, and because of this, Tristan Edwards describe it as a minute of street architecture. Next slide. So this is the map for the Saltaire. As you can see, the Victorian Road, which is shown by the violet broken lines where it is connected to the houses, which were built in the west of the village. As you can see, the gridiron layout is evident, and also connected to this Victorian Road is the mill, which is situated between the canal and the main railway lines. So that's all. Next slide. That's all for our presentation.
Okay, that was excellent. I love that everyone got a chance and then really went above and beyond and showed new plans. So that's like basically as good a presentation as I could hope for. No comments on that. So let's move on to the next one. So good job.